to.
Welcome, welcome everybody. We're admitting everybody in, so just give us a moment or two and then we'll get kicked off. It's wonderful to see everybody today. We're so happy that you're here at Teach for the Bay. And we're the first session of the whole conference, everybody. Woo-hoo! That's the way to do it. Get in here and just jump right in.
That's right.
We're just going to wait one more minute as our colleagues are coming in. Oh, this is great. This is great. This is great. Okay, Alice, I can keep admitting if you want to go ahead and start with
Okay. Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you to our first session for Teach for the Bay, number 5, Vision 2030, Centering Teachers. I'm Alice Hale. I'm a member of the steering committee for the conference, and I teach at Chabot College up in Hayward, and I am very happy to introduce you all to Bronwyn Kennedy and Renee Marshall, who are our experts on all things child development permit today. And they're going to tell you all about that. They're both from the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. So I think you'll find what they have to say really helpful. I'm gonna, at the end of this meeting or towards the end, I'm gonna put a link in the chat for an evaluation form that you can fill out. You can do it after this session, or if you're attending more sessions during the conference, you can do it after you attend your last session. So welcome everyone. I'm gonna turn it over to Renee and Bronwyn.
Good morning, everybody. I'll give a quick introduction and then hand it over to my fantastic colleague, Bronwyn Kennedy. My name is Renee Marshall, and I'm an administrator at the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. I get the honor of working with everything that's related to early childhood education teacher preparation. Some of you who've been to Teach for the Bay in the past might recognize me because before I came into the Commission on Teacher Credentialing about 2 years ago, I was actually involved in the community college system for 15 years of my career. So some of it, if I look familiar to you, but have a different background today, it could just be that I'm working for a new agency. But it's so wonderful to be together today. And I'm really excited for Teach for the Bay. This is such a fantastic conference. And I'm so grateful that San Francisco City College and all of the partners that bring Teach for the Bay continue to make this a priority and continue to offer this free and continue to offer it virtually so we can all be together. So thank you so much to our Teach for the Bay colleagues. I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Bronwyn Kennedy, to introduce herself.
Thank you, Renee. Hello, all. My name is Bronwyn Kennedy, and I am a consultant here at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing in the Professional Services Division. And I have the honor to be involved in the development of the new PK3 ECE Specialist Instruction Credential, along with working on the Child Development Permit and other ECE initiatives. I also have over 25 years experience in the field of early education, ranging from working with state preschools, private preschools. I've mentored and coached teachers, family childcare owners, and I've also owned my own private preschool facility. I've worked as a liaison in the field of early learning policy and planning, and for the last several years, I worked as an advocate for everything early learning, and I'm super excited to be here, not only in this session, but also I'll be doing a session later today and Friday on the new PK3 credential. So with that, I'll pass it back over to Renee.
Bronwyn, I'm so glad that you mentioned that. For those of you that were on email this morning, I sent out an email reminder about this session, but I also included links to the 3 other sessions that the Commission is going to be doing at Teach for the Bay. The PK3 session that Bronwyn's leading, that's happening later today and then again on Friday, that's a repeat session, so you only have to go to one or two or one of those, unless you'd like to hear the information twice. I'm not sure about you. I am somebody who I actually like to hear something more than once. It helps me to learn it better. But I also want to share that later today from 5 to 6 p.m., the Commission is going to be doing a session with the California Department of Education, where we're specifically going to be talking about the early childhood education workforce. We're going to tell you everything that's coming up and what's going on in the ECE workforce, and share some really good news about all the potential jobs and employability that's coming up in early childhood education. So we hope you can join us at that as well. Thank you so much to everybody who's starting to introduce yourself in the chat. Oh, thanks so much, Brenda. I appreciate it. I sent those links out kind of early, so I'm glad they were useful. We try our best to keep track of the chat during the conference. So if at any time you have any questions or whatnot, Alice will be watching also. We'll try our best to answer them during the presentation, or we also have some designated time at the end of presentation that we can just get straight into questions. So welcome everybody. Please make sure that you are introducing yourself. Oh, I love it. I love it. We have an introduction class coming in from Channel Islands. I'm so excited that we have some classes joining us today, you guys. I used to be a professor for a very long time, so this makes me so happy that we have students here. So this is so wonderful to be together. And one of the cool things about Teach for the Bay, everybody, is it is a conference for everybody. So we will have students and future teachers in the house today. We're going to have current teachers in the house today. We're going to have leadership here. We have people from County Office of Education. We have our colleagues coming in from higher education. It's a really nice blend of people. So let's kick it off. Today we're going to be talking about the child development permit and everything having to do with it. So now is the time, and now is the time. That's a great topic and title for this. I also want to share with everybody, Debbie Keeler was originally planning to present this session, and Deb has been sick. So Bronwyn at Kennedy and I work with Debbie directly, and we're the three of us make the ECE team at the commission. And so when Deb said she wasn't feeling well, we said, no problem, we've got this. So Debbie, sorry that she can't be here today, but I can guarantee that you're in good hands, everybody. Let's go ahead to the next slide. So it's important to know when we're talking about the child development permit that this is it's something that's already in effect. We've had the child development permit matrix and the child development permit since 1993. And there were some slight changes that happened to the permit and the matrix in 2002 related to adding the school age emphasis. But outside of that, the permit matrix really has not had any significant updates since that 2002 update. Later today, within this presentation, we're going to be talking about a work group that has happened over the past year and how we're going to be sharing about the child development permit now as the matrix exists now, but we're also going to share a little bit about the work group that happened over the past year and some potential recommendations that may be coming forward in terms of what the child development permit matrix will look like moving forward. Now, one thing I want to assure to everybody who's on also, with the matrix, if you are on the child development permit matrix right now, please don't be worried that there's there's updated requirements and whatnot that will be passed through regulations within the next year or so, possibly up to 2 years from now. Because if you currently are on the matrix, as it exists right now, you have property rights, which means that you won't lose that permit. But for somebody who has not gotten a child development permit yet, you might end up going into the new matrix that, and once it ends up being officially put into effect. But so we're going to be talking about kind of two different places here. So in terms of the child development permit matrix as it exists right now, the child development matrix currently has 6 different levels of child development permit. You can get an assistant permit, an associate teacher permit, a teacher level permit, a master teacher permit, site supervisor, and/or program director. Let's go ahead. Also, just one thing that says here too, each level of permit also has its own requirements for the issuance of it, and it builds from the next level or from the one level to the next. It's also important to note that when we're talking about the matrix today, this matrix is intended as a lattice or a ladder. So an example would be, if I'm an assistant teacher and I have the goal to become a master teacher, then that matrix will be like a ladder for me because I'm going to try to increase and go into other positions. But let's say, for instance, I'm an associate teacher and I love being an associate teacher, and that's what I want to be for my entire career. Then the matrix also serves as a lattice because we want people to come in at a level and be able to continue at that level if they'd like to. So when we refer to it as a lattice or a ladder, that's what we're meaning. That the idea that you can come in and you can get one of these permits and you can stay at that permit level for the duration of your career if you would like to, or you can move up to another permit level as well. We're also going to get into some specifics about the associate teacher level later on in this presentation that we'll share with you. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. Now, it's important to note, everybody, that all child development permits are valid for 5 years. And then at that 5-year point, you have to renew, you have to engage in some professional development, and then you can renew and get your continue your permit. So all permits have the renewal requirement for the assistant teacher. It's the professional growth hours, which is the 105 hours. For the associate teacher, at this time, the current the current matrix requires additional 15 units towards the teacher permit. And so that level is a little different. But when we go back to the teacher level, the master teacher level, the site supervisor level, and the program director level, only professional growth hours are required in order to renew that permit. Let's go ahead to the next slide. Excellent. So it's important to note that when we're talking about the unit requirements for the child development permit, we are speaking in semester units. Now, if you are either running a program or you are in a program that's quarter units, that's not a problem. They just need to be translated over. I was actually in conversation with one of my colleagues from Advance College yesterday, talking about that, those equal units and how do we make sure that they're equal. In addition to those units being semester units or the equivalent of the quarter units, these units must be obtained from a regionally accredited institution. In addition, ECE child development units cannot count towards the general education requirement. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now, it's important when we note about the core units. The core units in early childhood education include child growth and development, child, family, and community, and programs and curriculum. It's important that those who are interested in getting a child development permit complete a minimum of 3 semester units in each of these core areas. If for some reason you are at a campus where one of your classes is coming in at 4 units, that's not a problem. It's just a minimum of 3 units in these areas. And usually these classes are offered in a 3-unit format. Let's go ahead to the next slide. Oh, it's so wonderful to see everybody saying hello in the chat. Hello, everybody. It's great to see you. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for introducing yourself, everybody, and sharing a little bit about your background and your context. Oh, also, I see that Yi is asking if we can get the slides after the meeting. I'd be happy to email out the slides as a PDF to everybody who's registered for this after the meeting. It might be later today or first thing tomorrow, but I can get it to you within about 24 hours. Okay, everybody? Happy to do that. Let's go ahead to the next slide. Those general education core, oh, you bet, Yi, thank you. Those general education core units, it's also important to remember that those GE core units include English, language arts, humanities, social science, and math and science. A minimum total of 16 semester units are important to have, and those courses must be degree applicable. Also, for those of you who are pursuing a child development permit or potentially considering it, please don't let the fact that we are mentioning general education math units scare you. There are so many resources available, and there's, we know in the field of early childhood education, we have some colleagues that sometimes will have some math phobia or math anxiety. Please know that we are here to support you and to work together to help everybody get those career goals that they're hoping to, okay? Let's go ahead to the next slide. Oh, Jessica asked a question about quarter units on an accelerated program. An accelerated program will have the units linked to it. And often the accelerated program, not always, but often it is the same amount of units. And so it's if you're like say, for instance, you're taking child growth and development, and instead of taking it in traditional 16-week format, you're taking it in an 8-week format or a 5-week format. That class is still going to have 3 units no matter which format you're taking it in. It's just when you go over 16 weeks, you go less frequently each week. When you go over 8 weeks, you're more frequently each week. And if you were in a 5-week, you were going to that class like every single day for hours and hours. So it's the same number of units. It's just kind of the way that they offer it. Now, it's important to note, too, that experience is part of the child development as well. And when we're talking about experience, later on in the permit, sometimes we use the term full-time. Please know that in reference to early childhood education, we're talking about a minimum of 3 hours a day in an early childhood education setting. That's what's going to count as a day of experience. In addition, those volunteer hours in early childhood education also count toward experience. If you are working in a licensed family childcare, if you're student teaching in TK and kindergarten, and an acceptable supervised teaching as field experience in an ECE setting, those are all spaces that can be counted as experience. Let's go to the next slide. And with this, I'm going to hand it over to Bronwyn. Also, everybody, this link is a little bit, I know this chart is a little bit blurred. We want to let you know on the next slide, we actually have links directly to the website that you'll be able to get this from. And this permit matrix picture that we're showing here is from the Child Development Training Consortium, CDTC. They put out a great version of this that we like to share.
Thanks, Renee. So this is what the current matrix looks right now. We're going to go over it step by step. So don't get too hung up if you can't write it all down, because we're going to go over it a little bit. And as Renee said, we do have links on the next slide, and we'll get these slides out to you today. I'll make sure that we get that out to you today, because it won't take long to do that. But we have the assistant level, the associate teacher level, the teacher level, the master teacher, the site supervisor, and the program director. And each permit level has an education requirement, an experience requirement, and then alternative qualifications. And you'll see that some of the levels have maybe one option for alternative qualifications, but then as the levels kind of exceed, there's more than one option for alternative qualifications. And we'll go over those a little bit during the presentation today. Each level has an authorization, which what that tells you what the permit level is authorized to do in the classroom. And then each level has a renewal process, which Renee went over also. This is the link that we mentioned that will have the links to the permit matrix and also some resources. So when you get these slides, you can click on those and take you directly to this matrix, as well as some resources about the permit. So our first level that we're going to talk about, sorry, I have dogs home today. The first level we're going to talk about today is the assistant level of the permit, which we have 6 units of ECE. And no days of experience are required for this. There is an option 2, which is the ROP classes. The associate teacher permit is option 1, 12 ECE units. And again, those go back to those minimum 3 semester units from each of those 3 core areas that Renee talked about earlier. And the experience requirement here is 50 days of experience within the last 2 years. Option 2 is no days of experience, but a CDA credential is required, and a CDA credential only equals 9 ECE units towards a teacher permit.
Now, Bronwyn, would somebody normally be coming in with a CDA credential? Do you mind just for a minute kind of sharing who that person is that might be coming in with the CDA? Because I would hate for any student on going, oh, I need to get that in addition to the permit.
Right. No, that you do not have to get a CDA in additional to a permit. That is an optional credential that you can get. And so that is something that if other people, that you can either get that on your own. That is completely optional. That's not something that you have to do. That's why we have it as an optional qualification. The associate teacher renewal is the initial, right now, currently, it's the initial associate teacher permit is valid for 5 years. Currently, you can only renew this one time, and you must complete an additional 15 units towards the teacher level permit. And remedial units will not count towards the renewal, and no extension if the renewal is not met. The renewal requirement is not met. For the teacher level of the permit, option 1 is 24 ECE units, including those core units that we went over before, plus 16 general education units. And the experience requirement is 175 days of experience within the last 4 years. The optional qualification is no days of experience, but an AA or higher in early childhood education or child development or human development with 3 units of supervised field experience in an ECE or child development setting. So I did see someone ask about a human development, a bachelor's degree or higher. So keep listening, because we are going to go over that. For the master teacher permit level, option 1 is 24 ECE units, again, including those core units, 6 specialized units, which is 1 area of focus study. And those specialized units could be infant toddler, special education. Those specialized units is going to be a specialized ECE unit of study. 2 adult supervision units, so your 16 general education units, and then the experience requirement is going to be 350 days of experience. The option 2 for the master teacher is no days of experience, but you can have a BA or higher, and that does not have to be in early childhood education or child development. But you would have to have 12 ECE units, but does not have to have any core units, but you do have to have 3 units of supervised field experience in ECE or child development. Remember, your student teaching in kindergarten could count as field experience, but you would need to have an original letter on letterhead documenting that you actually did that student teaching in a kindergarten classroom. For the site supervisor level, option 1 is an AA or 60 units that would include your 24 early childhood education units, with those core units being included in that, plus 6 admin units, plus 2 adult supervision units, those 16 general education units, and then the experience is 350 days, plus that would, with those in 350 days, you would also need 100 days of supervising. The option 2 for site supervisor, no days of experience, but a BA or higher that does not have to be in early childhood education or child development. 12 ECE units, does not have to include those core units. You would need to have the 3 units of supervised field experience in ECE or child development. Again, if you did student teaching in kindergarten, that could count as your field experience. There is an option 3 for site supervisor. Again, no days of experience, but this option 3 is an administrative credential with an additional 12 ECE units and an additional 3 units of supervised field experience in an early childhood or child development setting. There is an option 4 for site supervisor, which would be a valid multiple subject teaching credential with 12 ECE units, and again, those 3 units of supervised field experience. So the site supervisor level has 4 alternative qualifications. The program director also has 4. Option 1 would be your BA or higher, which does not have to be in ECE or child development. 24 ECE units with those core units that we've talked about. Your 6 admin units, 2 adult supervision units, and this time the experience is 1 year of your site supervisor experience. Option 2 is much like the site supervisor option with an admin credential, plus those 12 ECE units and the 3 units of field experience. And option 3 is yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You have a question in the chat from
Yeah,
Jessica
I can't see the chat. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I know. It's a
Okay.
lot to keep track of. I'm also admitting people too, so I'm trying to
That's
keep track
okay,
of
no
questions. Jessica's asking about what does adult supervision units mean? So I'm just wondering if you can talk for a minute just about how those are specific classes. Thank you.
That's a great question. So an adult supervision class would be a separate class that's offered, and it's specifically for adult supervision and ECE. And so you would take that usually at your community college. Some of the four-year institutions would offer it as well. And it would be a class there that would be specific about supervising adults in an ECE setting. And so that's what you would add that on as an extra class. So I hope that answers your question. And if not, I can try to expand a little bit further. And they're generally offered as part of the program at whatever college you're at. And so that's what you would add on there. And same with the administration classes, and those they're part of the your ECE program. And then for the program director for option 3, it's again a lot like the site supervisor option 3, where you have to have a valid multiple subject teaching credential, your 12 ECE units, 6 admin units, and again, those 3 units of supervised field experience. This option 4 is a little different. There's no days of experience required again, And this time with option 4, you could have a master's degree in early childhood or child development or human development. But no other master's degrees would be accepted by the CTC. So for the program director level, you could apply for this level if you had a master's degree in ECE or child development or human development with no other requirements. So I went over those levels kind of fast, so I can take a break for just a moment to answer any questions. Robbie, that's a really good question, and I'm not sure about that.
Robbie, I don't think it does, but let me double
I don't
check
think
and then we'll
either.
get back to you on that. I know
Yeah.
we've had conversations about multiple subject and special education, how they don't always like equate. And so let me check on that and get back to you. I do not believe so, but let me double check on that.
Yeah. I'm going to go back up to JN. So JN, you said if you have a BA degree already, would that be covered? And so JN, it would, depending on what level you are applying for, and as long as you met the other requirements for that level. So as far as like if you were looking at a master's teacher or site supervisor or program director, you can have a degree in any other field, but you would have to meet the requirements as well as having the other ECE units and getting those other the supervised field experience. I'm trying to go through some of these questions here.
Also, I'm going to attempt one right now.
Yeah.
Amanda asks, there have been talks of permit requirements changing. Is that still happening? Amanda, we're going to get into that in just a minute. Because there has been a child development permit work group that was working on the permit matrix and recommendations to the commission for about a year now. And so we're going to get into that in just a few slides.
I also, there's a question way back at the beginning about renewals. So somebody's got a question about, what do I do when I know my permit's about to expire?
Excellent question.
Do you want to take it, Bronwyn?
Yes. So you can renew your permit online. As long as your permit hasn't already expired, you can do the whole process online. If your permit has already expired, then you would have to go through the process of contacting the CTC and refiling and making sure that you can get that renewed. But as long as it hasn't already expired, you can do everything online. It's a fairly easy process. But if it has already expired, you'll need to reach out to one of our credentialing counselors over at the CTC.
Bronwyn, I just put our email in the chat. If there's anybody who is in that situation, we can absolutely connect you to one of the credential specialists. And Nick Newman is somebody we work with a lot. He specializes in early childhood education, and he can meet and help anybody who needs any sort of support.
For sure. So Irene, let's see. I have a BA, but what I can be credible, I completely all childhood. Okay, Irene, can you explain your question a little bit more? Okay, and Curdy, okay. If you want to come off mute, you're more than welcome to as well.
And if you're not in a space to come off mute, what I want to share with everybody is if there's anybody on here who wants to talk with somebody from the commission, Bronwyn and I are absolutely happy to meet with you. We know that this is a confusing process at times. You might be hearing different information from different groups. We are absolutely happy to meet with you, to talk with you, to share with you like what the possibilities are. You could share with us how many units you've got by all means. So please know that I see there's some personal questions in the chat. Let's meet one-on-one so that way we can give you the right customer service you need. So by all means, we'll address like the larger, broader questions. But if anybody wants to meet with Bronwyn and I and Debbie, we are happy to meet with you. We meet with people all the time because becoming a teacher can be confusing. We want you to have as much information as possible, but at the same time, having a lot of information can sometimes be overwhelming. So we're happy to like share everything, but then also break it down, talk with you about your specific circumstance and about all the possibilities and options that you may have. Especially because there's later today, Bronwyn's going to be talking about the PK3 Early Childhood Education Specialist Instruction Credential. And that's a whole nother piece of early childhood education that's related to the permit, but also another option for you in terms of your career. And so please know we are happy to meet and talk.
Always. We appreciate meeting one-on-one and we encourage it because everybody's situation is different and sometimes it's a little bit easier to understand as well. So please know that we're always happy to meet one-on-one and just reach out to that email box to meet with us one-on-one, and we're happy to do that.
Good morning. I have a question.
Yes, Lizbeth.
To renew the permit, we have to redo the classes again, or you have to renew it?
No, all you have to do is your 105 professional growth hours to renew your permit, as long as you're not at the associate teacher level. If you're at the associate teacher level, it's a little bit different, but every other level, you just have to do those 105 professional growth hours.
Okay.
Also in the, oh, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. In the chat, we were also asked about how do we schedule a one-on-one meeting. We put our email in there. It's ece@ctc.ca.gov. We'll put it in the chat again. That email goes directly to me, Bronwyn, and Debbie at the same time. And so then what we'll do is we'll work with you via email to set up a time to chat and to schedule a meeting. Maria also asked, is there someone who speaks Spanish and can help me? Maria, I am sure that we can find somebody who's on staff. Bronwyn, Debbie, and I are not fully bilingual. I have a little bit of literacy in Spanish, but not as proficient as I would like to be. And so, but we could absolutely bring someone from staff in to make sure that we all can communicate. It's really important. Great. And I see people saying they're going to be reaching out soon. That is fantastic. We are happy to
Please do. We want you to. And so there was a couple of questions about the field experience and also the ECE supervised field experience in an ECE setting. And yes, that is generally, and thank you, Alice, for answering that question. It is generally a practicum class in the ECE college programming. So that will be done in a classroom setting as part of the practicum. So that's what that is. All right. And please do not hesitate to ask us any more questions. Stop us along the way. We're totally happy to answer them.
And Bronwyn and I, we've been teachers for many years, everybody. So we know what this is like, and we are here to help. We are here to make it easier. You know somebody at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing now. You have our email. So you've got a direct one-on-one contact. So if you ever run into any bumps, just know you're not alone. We'll figure it out together.
JN, you will not have to do it all over again. Please do not feel like if you miss the renewal, you have to do it all over again. That is not it at all. There's a little bit more paperwork involved, but you do not have to do it all over again. And I just want to tell you from a personal experience, I was so intimidated. Okay, so first of all, this is a person that has 2 master's degrees, and I was very intimidated by the child development permit process for many, many years. I qualified for a program director permit, but just the thought of doing it was very intimidating for me. And so I put it off for a very long time. So I want everybody on here to know that I am more than happy to help walk you through it, talk to you one-on-one, any of that, because I know from experience what an intimidating process it is and how confusing it can be. So I don't want anybody to ever feel like they can't reach out to us and ask for help, because trust me, I understand that it can be confusing and there's just a lot of words involved and different things. And so, and the levels they're all mishmashed, and I get it from a personal experience. I truly, truly get it. So please reach out to us so that we can walk you through it and answer any questions. And sometimes when there's 72 people on a Zoom call, it can be a little intimidating to ask the questions you really want to ask. So please, please reach out to us, and do not let the intimidation of a form or a lot of words on a website screen stop you from doing this and moving forward and advancing in your career, because we need you. The ECE field needs educators like you, and we want to help you get there and meet your goals. So please reach out to us.
And we'll be your cheerleaders. We're
Yes.
here to be along, and we'll help you like we try to help people even think about things that they might not consider too. And so please know that. Also, Bronwyn, Professor Estrada has asked if we can please make sure to review the value of having a child development permit and who requests or requires them.
Yep, that's actually on the next screen. So I
Perfect.
will go ahead and continue.
Oh, also, just so
Oh,
you know, I was just sent a private message about the Child
Mm.
Development Training Consortium. I am putting the link in right now, everybody, to that website. If you are currently a student being, training to be a future teacher, you definitely want to look into the Child Development Training Consortium because there's resources, there's financial resources. It's a great group to be connected with.
So currently, those who can work in a state-funded classroom are those who hold a child development permit and those who hold a California credential with additional requirements. As of right now, it's Head Start and state-funded classrooms that require permits. And so Title 22, private preschools, those are all up to the owner's discretion, whether or not they would have their staff require a permit. However, if you hold a child development permit, it serves you great purpose. It shows that you've completed your education, that you're really professionalizing what you're doing in your field, and that it shows value to what you're doing in the education that you've been completing. So it really, like Professor Estrada was saying, it's really great to complete that and continue on by getting your permit. So even though at this time, only state-funded preschool classrooms and Head Starts require the permit, it is great for everybody who is in the early learning field to go ahead and apply for a permit. So we highly suggest that at the CTC. But at this time, it's only state-funded preschool and Head Starts that do require that. All right, CDP and the master plan for early learning and care. So how does this align with the permit moving forward? In 2020, the master plan for early learning and care released, and this became the alignment with the workforce development goal number 2 of the state. This transition to a competency-based system was a huge preparation for the workforce. Hold on for a second, sorry. And with the licensure of early learning and care and the advent of the UPK and the new PK3 ECE specialist instruction credential. It's important that the EC workforce should be consistent with that competency-based system and meet the changing needs of our early learning and care programs, that they may require or offer that as an option that their workforce hold a child development permit. So again, like we were talking about, it's really important that all of our ECE workforce decide to get this permit because it really does show that they are consistent with that competency-based system that is outlined in our new master plan for early learning and care that was set forth in 2020. And earlier in 2023, we started the Child Development Permit Advisory Panel. And we had 28 members that were appointed by our executive director, Dr. Mary Vixie Sandy. And the Child Development Permit Advisory Panel would focus on the following questions. How should the current permit structure be revised, updated, and or modified to ensure that the early childhood educators have the knowledge and skills needed to meet developmental needs of children? And how can the state best monitor and ensure the quality and preparation of the ECE workforce within the resources available? And number 3, how should the TPEs be reorganized to align with the proposed new structure for the child development permit? The work group members met from August 2023 and concluded meeting in June 2024. All of the CDP work group meetings were open to the public with an opportunity for public comments. Opportunities for input from the field will be upcoming in mid-October, and the CDP work group recommendations are proposed to be presented in the commission in the October commission meeting. We encourage everybody to look forward to that meeting, which will be on October 18th, is when our team will be presenting to the commission the work group recommendations. There will be a time for public comments. We also suggest that if you want to write in for public comment, that look for the agenda, I believe will be posted this Friday, October 4th. And so you can write in and look at all the recommendations at that point. You can also call in on October 18th and make a 3-minute public comment. But if you want your comment to be longer, then we do also say to write in for public comment.
We also should note to everybody that we are sharing with the commission what the work group had to say during the year that they worked together. And we anticipate that the commissioners will tell us to put the information out for a field review, and that we will once again come. And so that field review we're anticipating will kick off on October 21st and last till about November 12th. And then we are anticipating that the information from that field review will be presented to the commission in February of 2025. And basically what that means is for the work group and what they've come up with, we want to send their information out to the field to make sure the field agrees with the recommendations of the work group. So that's what that survey will be coming out very shortly, everybody.
Thank you, Renee. I know there was a lot of questions about that professional growth and professional development. Like we mentioned before, every level except for the associate teacher permit level at this time, it requires 105 professional growth hours to be completed within a 5-year period. And those have to be, those are for renewal purposes only. And so when you complete those, you will fill that in when you turn in your renewal or your renewal request with the commission. The associate teacher level permit, as we discussed earlier, that, and I can go back to those slides, those are a little different. That does not require the 105 hours. Those are required of units to go up to the teacher level permit, and you can only renew that one time at this time. And then there are proposed changes to the permit that we are putting forward to the commission on October 18th. So, but as of right now, this is the permit as it stands, and anybody that's applying for the permit between now and whenever, this is how the permit matrix is.
Also, I'm going to throw it out there, Bronwyn. If you're at a spot where you've got units and you can apply for a permit right now, don't wait till the new matrix comes out another 18 months. Don't, especially because that's for people who are gonna, you won't lose the last permit. Those who are on the current permit keep that. They keep their property rights. So if you're in a spot where you've got 6 or 12 units, or you're thinking about maybe even advancing to a higher level permit, now's the time. Absolutely. Don't hesitate. Don't wait. Feel free to put yourself on the permit matrix right now. I also want to let everybody know there was some great questions about those professional growth hours. There is a FAQ professional growth page on our commission website. So I've linked that in the chat too, and hopefully that'll give some more information for everybody that you'll find useful.
Something else I wanted to mention, and this was going back to Professor Estrada's comment, we in the ECE field have been working for a very long time, and some of us have been in the field for more than we want to care to admit because it would date us, but to professionalize this field, and getting your child development permit is the one step closer to professionalizing this field. And so we highly encourage you to apply for your permit as soon as you can. Don't be like me and wait till you can apply for just your program director permit. Start using that as a ladder and lattice, and start in really working on being a professional in this field, because it's really what we need to advance our field. So this is the one step closer to making this the profession that we've all desired it to be, because it is. We are professionals, and this is a way to signify that as it. So we really strongly encourage you here at the CTC to apply for that permit if you are able. And if you are working towards it and you need to know how to do that, please reach out to us, because we're more than happy to help you get there. We do have some slides on questions and ways you can be connected. We have a whole website dedicated to questions about the new PK3 credential. We have news, our news, e-blast news that you can subscribe to so you can be in the know. These are all clickable links when you get this PDF. We have a great new thing that we're doing called an ECE Office Cafe, which is done at lunchtime once a month, where you get to come and you get to talk to us and share your thoughts. It's fantastic. Dr. Debbie Keeler is facilitating that. I personally find it to be one of my highlights of the month. And then our community circle is fantastic. We're going to have one on new preschool TK learning foundations and on October 21st. So these are all clickable links. These are the ways to get involved and really learn about what's going on out there so that you can continue your growth in this field and be connected. So please subscribe, click on all these links, come to these items, and be connected. We strongly encourage that. And now I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to open it up for questions.
I also want to throw this out here. I love that as colleagues, this is just how ECE operates. I love that everybody's putting stuff in the chat and helping each other. That just makes me so happy because instead of waiting for Bronwyn and I to be able to put things in as we're simultaneously presenting, I love that I see colleagues going, wait, here's this other resource and make sure to check this out, because that's the culture of early childhood education. And for those of you that are newer in this field, let us say welcome to the family team.
Yes.
Because that is how we operate. We are here for each other. We are here to back each other up. And that's the culture of ECE. I want to also riff for just a second. Bronwyn was talking about like get out there and get the permit and the importance of professionalizing our field. And I know that she hit upon that you are all professionals. And I want to just layer that on top. We know that we are all professionals in the field of early childhood education. Yet somehow there are people in this world, when they hear early childhood education, they go, oh, well, you guys are babysitters. You babysit kids. They don't understand brain science. They don't understand all the complexities that we understand in early childhood education. And guess what, everybody? Our kids are struggling right now. When we look at K-12 education, kids are struggling, and it's beyond learning loss. We look at all the wellness centers that are being put in our schools. We look at the fact that mental health issues are on the rise, and we're needed. Early childhood is absolutely needed in what we do. And not only can we be, working in our preschools and in our centers and now in TK through 12 systems, way more, there's more options, but we get to learn from each other while we're doing this. And so please know that we are here in solidarity, we are here in community, and we are here to be of help. And so we'd like to open it up, see if there's any questions, if there's anything that we can. Oh, I love it. Monica just put, we are teachers. It is what we do. That is totally what we do. I love that you said that, Monica. Being at the commission, sometimes with the state agency, there's certain like restrictions or limitations. And I'm always like, wait a second. No, there has to be a way around this. And I swear, I think it's from all my years in the classroom. They say, oh, you don't have the budgets for this. And you're like, okay, so how do I do it without a budget then? We just make it work, right? We are the people who collect toilet paper rolls, paper towel rolls, whatever people discard, we have use for it. And so I love that. I love that. Oh, I love that Carrie just said, I'm a retired elementary teacher. I wish I had more training on brain science to help me support my students. I agree 100%, Carrie. The more that we can learn and understand about young children, the better our systems are going to work, and they're going to work together.
Can I also just add about getting the permit that even if you think you're not sure you'll ever work at a state-funded preschool, if you think there is a possibility you will, as soon as you qualify for a permit and go for the highest level you qualify for, get it, because you don't ever want to be in a position where there's a job available, but you have to get the permit. It takes a few months. The process takes a few months. You don't want to have to be saying, oh, I just let me get this permit. It'll only take or try to get an emergency permit or something. Get it, then you have it. Keep it current, and you'll be set if there are new opportunities that come available.
Hey, Alice,
I agree, Alice.
Would you mind talking about Child Development Training Consortium from the faculty perspective? So, because I don't know what current resources are available.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'd love to be able, from the faculty side, like when somebody goes, guess what? Your permit can be paid for. Like, that makes such a huge difference. Would you mind speaking for a minute?
No. So the Child Development Training Consortium, the CDTC, they have a permit application stipend program that will pay the application fee for the permit, which is about $100, and they'll also reimburse you for about 2/3 of the cost of getting fingerprinted, which you have to do for the permit. Even if you've been fingerprinted for a job, you need to be fingerprinted again for the permit. And so if you send your application through the CDTC, they will send the application to the CTC, pay that application fee, and then reimburse you for about, I think it's about, as I said, about 2/3 of your fingerprinting costs, which varies from $75 to $100 depending on where you get it done. This funding usually runs from like an academic year. They usually start to release the money in the fall, and it's first come, first serve. So they distribute this money as long as they have it, which means by June, it often starts to be depleted. So if you qualify for a permit in, say, January, apply for that permit right then. You'll qualify for that money. You can, if you take more classes and you qualify for a higher level permit, the next year you can go back and they will pay the application fee for your renewal or your upgrade. It's a great program. It's really helpful because, you know, $200 is a bite these days, and to have that taken care of. There's also a workforce support stipend for taking classes, and I'm not as versed in that, but there's information on the website about that. And your college also might have someone on staff who's helping facilitate that stipend as well.
Excellent. Alice,
I'm
going to ask if there's any faculty who are on right now who are helping with the stipend. Maybe Professor Estrada, possibly. Mari, are you doing CDTC right now? I'm not sure. And if you're not in a space where you can unmute, it's totally fine not to, of course.
I wanted to also address 2 questions in the chat because I think they're good general questions. So someone asked, can a program director apply for 2 licenses at 2 different locations and each preschool have its own separate license? So when you apply for a child development permit, you are the owner of that permit. So you carry that permit to wherever you go. It is not associated to the preschool or the facility in which you are working. So when so myself, Bronwyn Kennedy, who owns a program director permit, can work at preschool A. And when I leave that preschool and I go to preschool B, that director permit goes with me. So you do not need to apply for a different permit every time you go to a different a preschool. It's not like a facility license, like a Title 22 facility license. It is your permit. You own it. So you don't have to apply for a new permit every time you go to a different preschool. It's not like your fingerprints. So you own it. That's your permit. You are the property owner for all time of it. You're paying for it. It is yours. So that was the first question. And then the second question was apply for the permit is year long or is there a schedule for it? You can apply for it 7 days a week, all year. You print out the application, you mail it in, it all year long. We are accepting applications all year long. So I'm hoping those answers those 2 questions. And yes, there is Erica assistance for a foreign transcript evaluation.
Bronwyn, I hope it's okay. We also had somebody ask if the new permit will be significantly different from the current one. I can't give, the best way to answer this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a link in the chat, everybody. And in less than a week, a 50-page agenda item is going to be posted that will have more information than you probably want, but it's officially we can't share it to the group until it goes to the commissioners first. So it needs to come out on the site. I'm putting it right now in the chat as a response at 9:54, the upcoming meeting. So that link takes you to the commission website. It'll take you to the October meeting. In a couple days, the agenda will be posted on that site and it'll be the agenda for the entire meeting. You'll have to find the item that's for child development permit, click on that. And if for some reason this is too much, you can email us like a week from now and be like, where's that thing you guys were telling us about? Like the agenda will be posted and we can send you the direct at that point too. I see Javanelle's hands up.
Renee and Bronwyn, I have a director's permit. Can I have that acknowledged at more than one site?
Absolutely. Yes, Javanelle, your permit will move with you wherever you go. So
can I have my number at one site and also be that director and then go to another site and be the director there?
You would have to contact licensing though about this, if you could be the director of record at both sites at the same time. We're not CDSS, so you would have to talk to CDSS about those regulations. But as far as you being a permit holder, your permit belongs to you.
True. Thank you so very much.
Of course.
Absolutely. Well, and Javanel, as you know, in our field, there's many times where people have more than one position, or you know what I mean? So by all means, we're here to help figure it out.
I have a question.
Sure.
If the program that I work for it, they pay in my classes, but they said that I can now use my permit on a different size if I quit or they fire me or whatever. That is true or just they saying it?
So they're saying that they're going to help you get your permit, but you can't transfer it. I hope I'm understanding that correctly, Elizabeth.
What they were saying is like, okay, you know, we paying your classes, and when you decide not to work with us no more, you can use your permit to another job. And I was like, so how this work?
You know what, Elizabeth, I think we should meet with you individually so that way we can pull your paperwork and kind of look through everything, and then we can help you, okay? I'm gonna
Okay.
put Elizabeth, I'm gonna put our email in the chat. Shoot Bronwyn and I an email, and we'll talk with you about what date works for you. We'll set up a time to meet, okay?
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Absolutely. I also see a question where sorry, there's a lot of questions. I'm sorry we can't get to all of them, but sorry, it was one. Do I need to apply for the permit before I am taking the courses? I am in the middle of taking the child development courses right now. Is it okay that I apply for the permit after? Oh, I apologize because Alice already answered. You absolutely have to finish the courses you're in and then you want to apply, unless you already have, like, say for instance, you've already completed 12 units of early childhood education and then you're in the middle of more units. You could apply at this point, but you could also wait till you have, as many units as possible and then apply for your highest permit as possible.
I just that can sometimes be confusing because you can apply for a certificate or a degree while you're in the midst of getting those classes, but for the permit, because you have to supply a transcript, the classes need to be on your transcript before you can apply.
Now, I know we are coming close to our end of time, everybody, and we have our keynote kicking off. So I don't want everybody to stay too long and then miss out for the next section. Alice just put the conference evaluation in the chat. We know we did not get to every single question, so please reach out and email to us. We are happy to meet with you. And as we're getting ready to wrap here, I'm going to hand it over to Robbie.
Hi, Renee. It's good to see you.
Hey, Robbie. Good morning.
Hi. I have a question, and I was talking to my aunt a little bit about this, who's been in the field of ECE for 40 years, and she's looking to move with her teacher permit, and she was looking at jobs in Sonoma that were paying like $17 an hour, and I'm wondering, is the commission, does it have a special committee that's looking at not just the workforce development part that's taking place right now and undergoing changes with the new PK3 credential and the new teacher permitting or the child development permit matrix, but the outcomes and the impact that are anticipated in pay disparity and all of the different changes. It seems like what I saw last time I looked at the commission, they're kind of tracking like the increase or decrease in the number of staff with credentials or permits and things of that nature. But in terms of cost of living and all of that, is there any go-to body within the commission that is actually looking at this? And then is there any sort of alignment with the Department of Labor, that could develop in order to look at this? Because I think that what could happen is that all of this effort is being put in workforce development without looking at anticipated outcomes in regard to, cost of living for teachers, whether or not they choose to go into the permit or choose to get the PK3 credential. And it'd be great to have somebody look at that so that people can make informed choices about their careers.
Robbie, I love what you're saying here. And our colleagues at the Department of Social Services are doing some work in this right now. There are some other groups that are doing work in this. I do want to tell you, though, we do have a Harvard data fellow at the commission that is helping with some of the data tracking that's happening. I would be very comfortable talking to them about what you've said here and to see if some of these cost of living and some of these other pieces can be included within the data that they're collecting and analyzing. Like I said, I know some of our sister agencies are working on the compensation piece and just like how do you align all the outcomes like you're speaking of. But but I can also bring it back to the commission side as well, Robbie, and see if we can have some additional data pieces tracked from our side. And if there's any specific tracking you have, you please feel free to send me a list because I'd be happy to share it with our data team.
I think it'd be wonderful if the fellow was able to speak to the community circle. I think that would be great.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea, Robbie. I'll do that. That's a great idea. Great. Well, I know that we are at 10 o'clock, everybody, and I believe the keynote is beginning at 10. So I want to make sure that we're